Hey, what's going on, folks? It's Mike here, and welcome back to the Deep Programming Language series. In today's lesson, we're going to continue with our theme of testing. We've been talking about unit tests and unit test blocks in the previous videos, so make sure you check those out if you haven't already. But today we're going to talk about something that's really cool that's built into the D programming language, or rather the D compiler, which allows us to do coverage testing. Now, what coverage testing allows us to do is see how many times a particular line executes. Right? Relatively simple. But what this really does that's important with unit testing is tells us if we have coverage, or do our unit tests actually test all of our code, so we can have some amount of confidence that we're testing the correct functionality of everything. So with that said, let's go ahead and dive into this lesson here from the Deep Programming Language website. And I'm going to go ahead and just start here from the command line reference, and then we'll go ahead and open up articles to learn about the coverage tool. But what I'm going to go ahead and do here is just search for coverage. And we'll see that we have this nice flag here, -cov for doing coverage analysis. And we'll see we'll also have the ability to do code coverage analysis to see what code is executing at compile time as well. So that's the basic idea. And we could use this feature in conjunction with just regular executions, which we'll start with, and then with the unit test feature to see that we're covering all of our code. All right, with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the article now. So if you go to the article section, there's a nice example here on code coverage analysis and what this does for us. So again, the basic idea of code coverage analysis is in testing. Maybe you have some code that's running automatically, or a GitHub action, or some continuous integration system, and you want to be able to see that all of your code in a test suite is actually being exercised. So if it's not, then you can simply add a unit test that exercises that code. And again, increase your confidence that your code is being tested and more correct. So that's the basic idea. Code coverage testing helps us identify code that is otherwise unreachable or not exercised in our tests. So with that said, let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and just skim through this article. It gives a really nice example. But the basic idea is we'll start with a sample of code like this, and then we'll, after running the code coverage flag here, the next time we execute our program, we'll get something like this, which is just a report or an LST file. And you'll see how many times each line of code executes here. If you see a 0 here, that means, well, that line of code is not being executed when our program runs. Now, for some things like code that we initialize and so on, you might not see anything here. But we're really just concerned with what's going to be in our unit tests, and overall, this bottom little report here that tells us for this particular file, it's 100% covered. So that's the basic idea here. And there's some other interesting things you can do, for instance, like control the code coverage analyzer, like saying if you want to merge multiple runs of a file, for instance, if you're doing some sort of like randomized testing or something, you can merge reports here. So there's some interesting things that you could do. We're just going to start with the basics here. But again, this article does a nice job here. Okay, so with that said, let's just go ahead and keep the command line reference in front of us here for the D compiler. And I'm just going to go ahead and write a little function here called func. It's going to take in a Boolean value here. I'm going to call it branch. And we'll see what this does here. It's just going to say if the branch is true, we'll execute the code that goes in the true side. Otherwise, if it's false, then we'll go ahead and just print out false here. Okay, and let's go ahead and run our program here. Func, I'll pass in true here. Now, upon looking at this, it's relatively obvious that just this branch of code from our function is going to execute. So we're going to go from our main into the function, true, and just print out true here. So let's just go ahead and verify our little assumption here. Whoops, there we are. And we get true printed out here, so not false. Okay, so let's see how this plays in with the code coverage functionality here with the -cov flag. And what we're going to do this time is do rdmd our main.d file and do -cov for coverage. Go ahead and hit enter. Program runs as normal. But if I do ls this time, observe we've got this new file here called main.lst, and that's the source code listing or the report here. So I'll go ahead and open that up in Vim here, and we'll see how often we executed each line of code here. Well, from our main, we executed the function one time because we called it one time here. And we can see that since it was true, it entered the true branch one time and 0 times for false. So if we look at our code, it's in effect 75% covered. Of the lines that are executed or could have been executed, 75% are executed. Okay, so this is sort of interesting in itself when we run it with main, but the tool that we usually use this with is with a unit test. So let's go ahead and write a unit test here. as we learned in the previous videos. If you haven't seen those, make sure you just check out the playlist below or follow along in the series. And you can follow along on courses.msha.io. Just go ahead and scroll here down to the D language series. So you could go ahead and check that out if you want to track your progress. So anyways, writing our little unit test block here, unit test. And I need to have at least one here. What I'm going to do here is basically just move what I did in my main here and just put my function true here. Okay, so I'll put a little documentation string here that says exercises are func. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this again. Now if I run this again, it's not going to do anything because, well, remember we need to do unit test. Okay, so that's going to do the unit test version of our program, which just executes the unit test blocks shown here on the right side. And we'll go ahead and do that here. Now I need to refresh my Vim here. My unit test passed, which is great. No assertions failed here. But let's go ahead and open this file up again, main.lst, and let's see what changed here. So go ahead and scroll down here, and we'll see now that our report again looks relatively familiar here. We have the function here that is executed one time in our unit test because we're doing the unit test build. And that means that we enter this branch one time and print out true one time. So what we need to do here, since we've only got 75% coverage here, is make sure that we write some code that exercises this branch. And you can imagine if you have nested if statements, this gets a little bit complicated. So this is another reason why if you hear folks say like, we really don't like deeply nested if statements. Yeah, it is complicated to sort of understand the logic sometimes, but it's also complicated to test. So again, that's just another motivation when you hear some of these things out in the wild of like, don't use nested if statements because they are indeed hard to test or can be more difficult. But for us, for this example, we basically just need to exercise our other branch here. So I'm going to pass in false here. And what we'll do is, again, rerun this here. I'm going to reload my file here. And now you'll see that we enter this branch twice. We do execute, in fact, this part one time, the true branch and the false branch here. So now we've got 100% coverage here, which is exactly what we want. And in general, you want to shoot for 100% coverage, especially for your like module tests. Now where this gets a little bit interesting is if for my unit testing, like if I just add some like logic down here. So I just want to go ahead and show you something. And then I reopen this file, you'll see that since we're just executing the unit test blocks, we get 0 executions here. Again, just to show you what that unit test flag's doing. It's just running our unit test blocks. So that is something to consider if you don't get that number that is 100%. So if you have the main function in whatever module you're testing, just consider that. There's probably a way to ignore it. But anyways, that was just something that I thought was interesting. Now, of course, if you're just testing your modules, so if you have a library or something, there's no main function, so this isn't a concern anyways. Alrighty, so anyways, let's go ahead and get rid of that here. And let's just go ahead and show you one last thing here. Now let's go ahead and try to figure out if we have code that executes at compile time, if we want to add that to our coverage report here. So what kind of code could execute at our compile time? Well, we could have things like we initialize something here. So let's go ahead and initialize a map here of some sort here. And what I'm going to go ahead and do here is just, let's just, make it interesting here. So key value, something like that here. And let's just do key 2, value 2. And I should be able to, if you have a reasonable enough or early enough version of the decompiler, you should be able to do something like this. But for now, I'm just going to make this immutable just to make sure that's working. And the thing that we're going to try to play around with, again, is this ctfe flag here. Okay, so the compile time function evaluation we want to include in our coverage report here. So let's just go ahead and in our func here, let's just go ahead and say if ctfe, and then we could do like a static for each key in our map. Let's just go ahead and do pragma message the key, and then else, we'll just do a regular for each loop for the key in the map, and a write line with the key in it. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what happens. Let's play around with this just a little bit here. Let's see what semicolons I forgot. One semicolon here. Let me just kind of line this up. I like to get things in order. Okay, so this ran fine. Let's see what it actually did. If I look at the coverage report here, looks like we were able to see our for each here, but we can't tell if this is actually running or not in our coverage report. Okay, so again, maybe this is important again because we want to see what the compile time function execution stuff is and what's going on here. And we can see that it evaluated this twice because we ran this function twice here. Okay, now let me go ahead and just add the little flag here. So for our coverage equals ctfe. Oops, and let's go ahead and make sure we spell that right. There we go. So our code runs again, and it prints out the values both at compile time, the keys, and the well, just the keys in this case. And let's go ahead and open up our listing here. And this time, if we observe, we can see that this is printed out here. Okay, so that's kind of cool here. We get the coverage port now for the ctfe stuff, as well as our regular thing here. Now, the reason that you might not want the ctfe here is, I mean, maybe it adds more noise, maybe you don't care. It is just another thing to instrument, so maybe if you have lots of code or templates or something that's being generated, you might not want that. But in general, it's kind of interesting to know what sort of coverage you're getting also at compile time, say, of your tests. And maybe you'll arrange your tests in different ways. For instance, your unit tests, such that there are some that you write that are specifically testing compile time features and some that aren't, right? You can use that if ctfe within your unit test block as well. Again, just to see here. So I think that's a nice, little advanced feature that you can play around with. Alrighty, folks. So anyways, with that said, hopefully you enjoyed this lesson on testing and code coverage. It's one of my favorite features, again, of the D programming language, that it has a lot of these tools built into it. Things like profilers, documentation, which we'll get into both of those things, code coverage, which we have here, as well as many other different tools that, again, just package everything that we need together for software engineering. So we've seen the unit test stuff, we've seen the code coverage stuff, and we got some more cool tools coming. Anyways, folks, with that said, thanks for your time and attention, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one.